Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day you're watching this. Welcome to the third installment of Holy Humor from Pastor Bill. The first one I'd like to go into a little bit and explain. This is from a guy whose name was Don, and he was a crazy character. Had an incredible sense of humor, kind of a dry sense of humor, and I would bring communion to him on a regular monthly basis. The first time I met him, he told me this first joke. And then in the hospital, a couple of years later, he told this to me again, and I videotaped it. And another time, another joke. And then after he died, a couple of years after that, the family asked me if I had any record of that, and I did. I was able to pull it up, and with my incredible sense of technology that always seems to go wrong, something happens. I was able to get it to them, and it was amazing. So this is what Don, I won't give you his last name, but this is what Don gave me. A preacher came to church one Sunday. Now you got to remember that this was early in my ministry, so he's trying to give me a hint. A preacher came to the church one Sunday with several band-aids on his face. And after the service, he explained to the congregation that he was concentrating on his sermon while he was shaving. And he had cut himself several times. And someone in the back spoke up and said, "I wish he'd concentrated on his shaving and cut his sermon." And then Don laughs, of course, and then I'm thinking, oh, what is he trying to tell me? But he didn't know me yet. And then Don also gave me this when he was in the hospital. George, age 92, and Edith, age 89, were getting married. And one day, George went to town to pick up Edith's medicine, and he asked the pharmacist, "Do you have heart medication?" And the pharmacist said, "Yes. Yes, we have all the heart medications that are known." And George asked, "Do you have blood pressure medications?" And the pharmacist said, "Yes, we have all the blood pressure medications." "Do you have all the testing supplies for diabetes and insulin?" And he said, "Yes, we do." And then George asked, "Do you have canes and crutches and wheelchairs?" "Yes," the pharmacist said, "but why all the questions?" And George said, "Well, we're getting married, and we're wondering if we could use your store for our bridal registry." Oh, yes. Well, that's just wonderful. Humorous one-liners. Some people are kind, polite, and sweet-spirited until you try to sit in their pews. Many folks want to serve God, but only as advisors. It's easier to preach 10 sermons than it is to live one. That's true. The good Lord didn't create anything without a purpose, but mosquitoes come close. When you get to your wit's end, you'll find God lives there. People are funny. They want the front of the bus, the middle of the road, and the back of the church. Opportunity may knock once, but temptation bangs on the front door forever. Quit griping about your church. If it was perfect, you couldn't belong. If a church wants a better pastor, it only needs to pray for the one it has. We're called to be witnesses, not lawyers or judges. Okay. These next illustrations are about husband and wife dynamics. Okay? A man and his wife were having an argument about who should brew the coffee each morning. The wife said, "You should do it because you get up first, and then we don't have to wait as long to get our coffee." The husband said, "You are in charge of cooking around here, and you should do it because that is your job, and I can just wait for my coffee." Doesn't that sound like some people? Wife replies, "No, you should do it, and besides, it's in the Bible that the man should do the coffee." Husband replies, "I can't believe that. Show me." So she fetched the Bible, opened the New Testament, and showed him at the top of several pages that indeed it says Hebrews. The book of Hebrews, you understand. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. Wife texts husband on a cold winter's morning. Windows frozen, won't open. Husband texts back. Gently pour some lukewarm water over it. Wife texts back 5 minutes later. Computer really screwed up now. That's from a guy called Dale. A kind-hearted Norwegian. You're going to love this. My wife and I walked past a swanky new restaurant last night. Did you smell that food? She asked. Incredible. Being the kind-hearted Norwegian I am, I thought, what the heck? I'll treat her. So we walked past it again. This couple is headed for some counseling, right? A man said to his wife one day, I don't know how you can be so stupid and so beautiful all at the same time. The wife responded, allow me to explain. God made me beautiful so you would be attracted to me. God made me stupid so I would be attracted to you. Someone told me this, and I suppose it was a wise woman. God may have created man before woman, but there's always a rough draft before the masterpiece. Okay. A couple drove down a country road for several miles, not saying a word. An earlier discussion had led to an argument, and neither of them wanted to concede their position. As they passed a barnyard of mules, goats, and pigs, the husband asked sarcastically, relatives of yours? Yup, the wife replied, in-laws. Oh my goodness. So you can tell they needed counseling. So they go to a marriage seminar. While attending a marriage seminar dealing with communication, Tom and his wife Grace listened to the instructor. It's essential that husbands and wives know each other's likes and dislikes. He addressed the man, can you name your wife's favorite flower? Tom leaned over, touched his wife's arm gently and whispered, it's Pillsbury, isn't it? Okay, we'll get off the husband and wife stuff. A priest told his congregation, next week I plan to preach about the sins of lying. To prepare you for my sermon, I want you all to read Mark 17. The following Sunday, as he began his sermon, the priest asked for a show of hands. He wanted to know how many read Mark 17. As he had requested, most of the congregation raised their hands. The priest smiled and said, Mark has only 16 chapters. I will now proceed with my sermon on the sins of lying. Okay, this is one of my favorites. It's an illustration because some churches go through what we call worship wars, and they are about the music most often. And so some people like praise choruses, and some people like hymns, and most of us here at Bethesda are familiar with hymns. But if we have gone to contemporary churches, also we are very familiar with praise hymns. So this is an illustration about the difference between a hymn and a praise chorus, okay? An old farmer went to the city one weekend and attended the big city church. He came home and his wife asked him how it was. Well, said the farmer, it was good. They did something different, however. They sang praise choruses instead of hymns. Praise choruses, said the wife. What are those? Oh, they're okay. They're like hymns, only different, said the farmer. Well, what's the difference? Asked his wife. The farmer said, well, it's like this. If I were to say to you, Martha, the cows are in the corn, well, that would be a hymn. If, on the other hand, I were to say to you, Martha, 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 oh, Martha, 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 the cows, the big cows, the brown cows, the black cows, the white cows, the black and white cows, the cows are in the corn. are in the corn, are in the corn, are in the corn. The corn, corn, corn. Then, if I were to repeat the whole thing 2 or 3 times, well, that would be a praise chorus. The next weekend, his nephew, a young, new Christian from the city, came to visit, and he attended the local church of the same town. He went home, and his mother asked him how it was. Well, said the young man, it was good. They did something different, however. They sang hymns instead of regular songs. Hymns, asked his mother, what are those? Oh, they're okay. They're sort of like regular songs, only different, said the young man. Well, what's the difference? Asked his mother. The young man said, well, it's like this. If I were to say to you, Martha, the cows are in the corn, well, that would be a regular song. If, on the other hand, I were to say to you, O Martha, dear Martha, hear thou my cry. Inclinest thine ear to the words of my mouth. Turn thou thy whole wondrous ear by and by to the righteous, inimitable, glorious truth. For the way of the animals, who can explain? There in their heads is no shadow of sense. Hearkenest they in God's sun or his rain, unless from the mild, tempting corn they are fenced. Yea, those cows in glad bovine, rebellious delight, have broke free their shackles, their warm pens eschewed. Then, goaded by minions of darkness and night, they all my mild chilliwack, sweet corn, have chewed. So look to the bright shining day by and by, where all foul corruptions of earth are reborn, where no vicious animals make my soul cry, and I no longer see those foul cows in the corn. Then if I were to only do verses 1, 3, and 4, and do a key change on the last verse, well, that would be a hymn. Okay, so I like both. I like both praise choruses and hymns. It's all a matter of perspective. When I first was ordained and I went to a workshop, a worship service, put on by, I think it was basically E-Free, and it could have been some wonderful Pentecostal pastors too, because we had incredible pastors that we really enjoyed. And I looked at the last hymn, and it only had 3 lines in it. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's going to be short. But it took 11 minutes. It's because it was a praise hymn, and it was really good. So, last but not least, Ole and Sven are best buds. Hello, is this the Willmar Sheriff's Office? Yes, what can I do for you? I'm calling to report about my neighbor, Ole Johnson. He's hiding marijuana inside his firewood. Don't quite know how he gets it inside them logs, but he's hiding it there. Thank you very much for the call, sir. The next day, 12 of Willmar's finest sheriff's deputies descend on Ole's house. They search the shed where the firewood is kept. Using axes, they bust open every piece of wood, but find no marijuana. They sneer at Ole and leave. Shortly, the phone rings at Ole's house. Hey, Ole, this here's Sven. Did the sheriff come? Yeah. Did they chop your firewood? Yeah. Happy birthday, buddy. Hey, God bless you as you learn to laugh a little bit today.